Well, Shari, I think a lot of people take for granted that they just go about their work, functioning, and personal life and so forth, without really thinking about how they're functioning. Why is it helpful to be able to identify when you're not functioning as well as you can?
The earlier that we start to recognise the signs that we're not doing as well as usual means that we can start to take action very early. One of the most difficult things is when people leave it too late and then they end up having a breakdown, and
Right.
then it's a lot harder to recover from. So the earlier that we start to recognise the signs within ourselves and within those people that we work with as well, then the faster we can take some action.
Well, knowing those signs in any health-related issue is often the most important
That's
thing,
right.
isn't it? Whether it be psychological or physical. What are the sort of signs or symptoms that would indicate that a person or that you yourself are not functioning as well as you usually would?
One of the difficulties with any functioning issue is that it's very dependent on the person. So everyone will have different signs. On the fact sheet that has been prepared for the Law Society, there are some signs that are there. And the common ones would be things like you might notice that your heart is racing, that
Right.
perhaps you're not laughing as much as usual, you might feel short of breath sometimes. Often other people might comment that you seem a little bit snappy or
Right.
short-tempered with them.
Okay.
You may be going home and having an extra glass of wine or two at night rather than the normal amount that you have. Eating junk food or highly sugar foods, giving up things like exercise or making time to spend with people. All of those things that are very important for us to keep going well, we tend to change when we're experiencing a little bit of stress or when we're just not managing as well as we usually would be.
Yeah, those sorts of symptoms or signs, don't sound healthy if they were to continue on for a long period. I mean, what are the long-term consequences of not functioning as well as you can?
Long term, the difficulty is that the longer we leave it, the worse it gets.
Right.
Over time, our immunity will reduce and we're much more likely to get illnesses, colds and flus,
Right.
to just feel generally run down. A lot of people will get high blood pressure. If they're not eating well, then they're going to actually often get digestive issues. And of course, if we're feeling stressed, our digestion plays up. Our relationship may suffer because if we're feeling overwhelmed or that we're not coping very well or taking work stresses home with us, then we're not going to be there for our partner and our families. Our ability to relax would be compromised, and we might feel just all the time that we're on sort of racing too quickly and not taking the time to slow down. Sexual dysfunction can happen, alcoholism, or if you start taking illicit substances, then some substance dependency problems. So there's a whole plethora of difficulties that can occur, and they can creep up quite gradually. So if we don't notice these changes, then it's often that people will notice something really significant has happened, as in their relationship is broken up.
Yes.
Whereas being able to identify it early on means we could have prevented some of those
Yeah.
issues.